Robbie's not a monk, and none of our characters are. So, that's just part of exploring as you learn a little bit more about them, about what's going on in their love lives as well, or what's not. Yeah, we just, that's one of the things that happens these days with cyber attacks on hospitals. And one of the things we were talking about is, and we see it even in the writer's room in generational, about when I mention something and someone doesn't know what the reference is. So the idea was, what happens if we had to go back to charting by paper and seeing what sort of chaos that would create.
And you bring a boss from the past that comes in and just get everybody in check.
Yes, ma'am.
I love her character.
Yes.
Like, I know people like
Monica.
her. Yeah, that was a really great character. What would you say about the space that inspires you to tell these stories?
Well, having done a medical show for a good 15 years in the early part of my career, I met a lot of doctors, I met a lot of nurses, and made a lot of relationships with people in that job. And in 2020, during the pandemic, I was hearing a lot from them and hearing about what a horrible experience it was for them. And it kind of opened my eyes that there was another story to tell in this arena that was going to be very contemporary and very American and very important to tell. And I called this guy and John Wells and said, hey, I think we might want to put our heads back together and see if there's not something we could do here. And that's kind of where it all came from, was an intention to put the spotlight back on that community, to honor the work that they were doing, to talk about the difficulties they're facing and try to affect change.
DP, how much fun she loved being outdoors, but we were also talking about how it's so representative of his freedom outside of like how enclosed he is inside of the ER. What can you share about playing those different dynamics?
We are very specific about when we go outside and when we allow the sky and expansiveness to enter into our characters' consciousness. They all have rich three-dimensional lives outside that hospital, but once we're there, we don't get a sense of it. They're all trapped in the pit. We are trapped in the pit with them, and only once in a while do we get a perspective on how far from the sky we really are. We hint that he's having a very mature relationship with somebody who works in the hospital, but it's a very no-strings-attached kind of affair. Somebody says of him that he has a kind of a 7-week itch, that after about 7 weeks he starts looking for an exit. And I think, it's possible to have romantic interests and even an active social life and use it as a bit of a smokescreen to not deal with some of the things that you should be dealing with.
She shows up and she is poised, she is tenacious, she is fiercely skilled, she's a patient advocate, and that's what matters to her. And the kind of people you attract or repel, you are not responsible for. But I think her head and her heart is in the right place. She's well intended, and she's a necessary new sort of ingredient in the cocktail of the pit. We do go toe to toe, and pretty often. No, she's not afraid because he is not her senior, he is not her superior, he is her equal. And often, she's dealt with people, other men who kind of challenge her sometimes necessarily and sometimes unnecessarily. So she's used to it. This is not her first rodeo, but she is intrigued and she sees beyond the sort of rough exterior of Dr. Robbie. I've said before, but it feels like they're kind of two animals sniffing each other out and kind of assessing each other, and then they get closer and then they kind of like go and nip at each other and then they run away, and that's what we see throughout the season. There's some like harmony, there's some discord, but ultimately it creates for good drama, I think. I mean, she has possibly one of the more diverse medical backgrounds of the hospital staff, and as is for you, for me, for Dr. Al-Hashimi, every single experience you have in your life shapes the way that you approach your work, shapes the way that you approach your connections with people. And so I think she has a pretty wide range of life experiences, traumas, education that has forged her experience as a doctor.
there's hookups and flirtations and potential.
A little bit.
So what can you tease on that front? And if not too much, like, is that something that you would like to see your character explore?
I will say I would like my character to explore that. Okay, yes. I think there's a lot of space for Ellis.
You think that she's ready to have some sort of something with somebody?
Ellis was born ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a few that have touched me, but the craziest case is coming up next week when we wrap shooting. I want to tell you so bad what it is, but it's an ongoing joke around the set. I have a weak stomach, so it's a lot of acting happening where I have a straight face, and baby, let me tell you, drama and trauma. I got a trauma scene coming up.
You need to trademark that.
Oh
Drama
man, and trauma, baby. Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
The first episode, we come out with a banger of a surgery. I have never heard of anything like this, and I think it's going to have a lot of jaws on the floor. There are a lot of incredible surgeries. There's a lot of beautiful relationship, not romantic, but just new things blossoming between characters. And also, there's a lot of political talk. A lot of things that we need to be talking about, present day issues. These are things that hopefully by telling these stories we'll get some change accomplished.
So you flick a nickel on the set of the Pitt and you hit an actual healthcare worker. And one of the things they say in the ER is how often people come in with things in their rectum. It's surreal. I mean, when I think of our special sauce on the Pitt is we're trying to tell the real story of what it is in an American ER, and we treat the audience like they're intelligent. So a lot of it is the actual procedures. I mean, of things that actually happen and things that doctors do. Everybody's kind of hot and sweaty and doing medicine and get tired. And McKay's a little thirsty this year. And you know what? She deserves to be.
For me, I'm very avoidant as a person, and I've never asked anybody on a date ever in my life.
She was ballsy.
And I go, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't pay off fully, but it pays a little bit.
When it seems like that, I think something like Mateo remembers that. He knows that. I think even if a girl were to ask a guy on a date, they remember that. It's in the logs. Yeah, that's a thing.
She's brave. You got to be brave.
And you got to give it to her. Yeah, she's
because
brave.
he was a little brave when it's like, let's go grab a beer at the end of last season, and then it was like, but it's with a large group of people, and it's like mixed signals.
Yeah. And she's 20.
Mateo's being confusing. That's crazy.
He's playing mind games.
He's playing mind games. Yeah.
I didn't even honestly realize that I could continue to ship you guys. So I'm very happy that you guys are saying that maybe I can.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. Maybe you will.
You do, yeah. There's something really interesting about this dynamic of like the financial privilege and the hardship and also I think actually as actors, it's very rare to see interracial relationships with two people of color from different places. And for me, that means like the world to me that it was like Jalen and not, you know what I mean? Like, this is like a quietly powerful story, I think. Yeah.
There's a baby. There's a baby in the ER.
Yes.
And now you're kind of in charge of the care.
Yes.
So what can you tease on that front?
Well, I can tell you I know how to carry a baby because I'm a new father.
Oh, congratulations! Like little tiny newborn.
Yeah, my baby's 11 months and about a week, and she's walking now. So she's walking early. So she's not so tiny. She's pretty strong. I took her to the playground today before this premiere, so it's been awesome. But I think that's why I got tapped a little bit this year to kind of handle that responsibility. I remember John Wells being like, okay, when the babies come in, don't make any noise, right? Like I got the rundown. So that's exciting. I feel I'm a pro a little bit at carrying newborns right now. I might lose it soon.
Now, with all the chaos that's going on, it's 4th of July weekend,
4th of July.
and this baby also doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And that causes crying and disruption. But you keep her cool.
I do.
So, what did you learn from that experience that may help you in real life?
Well, babies respond to energy. I learn this every night when I'm trying to put that baby to sleep, and Joy is crying, and then, if she's tussling and you get emotional, the baby also gets activated and emotional. So you have to be sensitive to energy response. You got to be energetic. You got to respond, touch and go. So.
It
was great. I really liked Charlie that got to play Digby, our unhoused man.
Oh my God!
Yes, and that whole story our story with the unhoused was really beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
We have great stories. We have ICE, we have rape. We're dealing with a lot.
If people uninsured, I thought
Yes.
was a very
Oh my
important
God,
one.
that's heartbreaking. I wasn't in that story, but those scripts were really heartbreaking. I actually went to the Rape Treatment Center a few times at UCLA Santa Monica, and I learned from them, and I really talked to them multiple times about how they handle things. I asked a lot of questions. And then, even when you go and have them go through, I wanted them to go through the rape kit with me. If you go and do that, you get a lot of other information. You know what I'm saying? They'll end up telling you a story about something that happened one time, and you kind of really get a sense of how they approach it. And also, that place, the Rape Treatment Center and the Stewart House, are so compassionate and so designed to support the victim. And I really just got a really good understanding from them, and I tried to bring that reality of what they do into the show. So I really just learned from real nurses and tried to depict them.
What I love about Princess and Perla is that, yes, they both share they're both Filipino, they both share the love of their language, and yes, they do it to gossip, but they also just do it as a way of connecting in a different way, and maybe in a more intimate way and more comfortable way than they are. And I love, I watched my mom, my mother is a nurse, and I watched her in the hospital always connect with her Tagalog nurses, and there's just a different way of celebrating themselves and not losing sight of where they came from, or they're celebrating their culture. And I think us speaking Tagalog and switching in and out of it will sort of hit those different things for different watchers and how the language plays a role in their life. Just to know that we all are challenged in different ways, more so than we thought that we already were challenged in season 1. But there's so many new different types of cases coming in that I, as the actor, didn't even know could even happen in a hospital, but we're doing them all.
I think it starts with episode 1. We kick off with a bang. That first big trauma that we have, I mean, even just the prep for that was insane and gross. It made my tummy turn a little bit. So, I mean, you'll see. Ogilvy is the new MS4 med student. He's in the same year as Javadi. He, to put it lightly, is a gunner. So he's coming ready to scrap, ready to brawl. He's incredibly intelligent. He's here to prove himself and show off and showboat a little bit. And anybody who happens to get in the way, maybe watch out. I think that he's somebody who has a certain worldview as soon as he comes into the shift. And I think that he slowly maybe learns that worldview is not exactly compatible with reality. And so we get to sort of see that get chipped away. And I think that has a cost for him overall.